we are very proud to announce UMP Trading is an official partner with a proven profit track record.
Yeah, if you want great returns on your investments, be sure to check out UMP Trading.
Hello, welcome back to everyone that's tuned into our channel, American Ultra Stock. Here we are today bringing to you guys another video. This one's a little bit late, as per usual lately in the channel. Again, a lot of the blame goes to me. Raise my hands up, but straight to the point, Braden. We're here to talk about the guys on your background, the U23s. We're starting officially the cycle for the Olympics, the preparation for that. First of all, I just want to say, and I want your comments on USSF's wonderful initiative of not streaming the game, making it impossible to watch. That's such a nice thing to do. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I will say the fact the game against Mexico wasn't streamed does give us a little bit more of a window to actually make this video, since no one has actually seen these guys play yet, because we couldn't unless you were actually in Phoenix for the game. It must be nice if you were. But yeah, I don't understand why they wouldn't stream it. I mean, it can't be that hard. They're streaming the same game against Japan in the same stadium. It can't be that difficult to stream this one. It's a bigger rivalry. Playing against Mexico, it doesn't matter what age level. All the games against Mexico should be streamed. Honestly, all the games should be streamed regardless of the opponent. But especially against Mexico, and especially if we want to grow soccer in our country, and this is a huge a moment for us, because the Olympics are obviously an event that the casual sports fan will tune into, not necessarily soccer fans. So it's a huge opportunity to gain new viewers who haven't seen the sport in the past, and televising our preparation games would definitely help bring an audience. I don't know what they were thinking there. But from what I've heard, it was a pretty good win over Mexico. Esmir Bayraktarovic, I can't really say his name, but he scored the first goal, and the second one was Obed Vargas, two players who I would not have expected to score. So it's nice to see us starting the camp on a positive. Hopefully the game against Japan, which we can actually watch, will go just as well.
Yeah, I'm really excited to watch that game, and I think you hit every single point right there. I think it really is a shame that we're starting off this cycle not streaming against our biggest rival. I mean, this is ridiculous. If you put it into paper and just saying it sounds insane. But analyzing the roster, I know that we have very limited information to how these guys perform, so I'm just going to have to go off of what I know from them. I'm just going to say I think it's a really positive roster, really positive roster. The thing that I will say is I have one criticism that I actually didn't tell anyone, but it's not really a bad criticism on this roster. It's on USSF on not calling up Bexton for the main squad. I think honestly, Gio's out. Might as well put him there. The guy is getting minutes in the Bundesliga. I think if we're looking, a lot of people are retiring Team Reno already and saying that, well, we need to go look for 26, and this is probably a guy that's going to be involved. So I think I think it's nice that he's getting involved with the U23s. But apart from that, I think it was a really good roster. I called it Buzio and Tessman on the midfield. I think the midfield is stacked. I have sort of the same concerns that I have with the main national team in the back, but the main thing here is the forward position. I'm rooting for Maguire, but there really is an established player there. What is your take on the roster as a whole?
Yeah, so firstly, before we get into who was called up and who wasn't, I think it's important to note that obviously clubs don't have to release players to this roster. We've had several notable players who, rumor has it, weren't released. I've found as credible a source as I can get for these guys. The only one that is concrete is Agustin Anello. There's also Cade Cowell, George Campbell, Jonathan Gomez, Diego Luna, Josh Winder, and Justin Che, who are all believed to have not been released for the roster, which really limits our options for this camp, which is a little unfortunate, but especially considering that some of these guys weren't released, I think the roster is really strong. Honestly, I think the goalkeepers are a little bit questionable. I wish Gaga was here. He might have been another one who wasn't released, but I couldn't find anything on that. Chris Brady is probably our number one guy here, although he didn't start against Mexico, which was a bit interesting. Schulte from the crew did, and he seemed to do a pretty good job, so maybe he's challenging Brady there. The defense, like you said, it's sort of weak. I think our left back options are really good with Tolkien and Wiley, and obviously Jonathan Gomez as well, who isn't in the team, but just adds another option for that Olympic team in 2024. I think our left backs are pretty stacked. Right backs, Brian Reynolds has been pretty solid, especially for this level. We know what he can do. Nathan Harriel, my boy from the Union, I'd probably prefer to see him in a back three. I thought the roster was set up for a back three. We still didn't play that against Mexico for some reason. Not really sure why. I think it would have been a better formation, especially with a head coach who comes from our youth national teams, which with the U20s at least, the 3-4-3 was our primary formation. But yeah, the defense, especially the center backs, are really poor. We're definitely going to need to use one, maybe two of our overage spots in the Olympics on this. I mean, I like Max Dietz. He's been one of my guys. I mentioned him in a stock watch once a while back. I've been wanting him to get at least some sort of look in, so I'm glad he's here. Brendan Craig got a late call up, which it was nice considering that there was only 2 center backs on the roster before that. Tompkinson, I want him to do well, but he's 22 and still playing in League 2, so I think the ship has kind of sailed for him. He's kind of just here because Wander and Shea weren't released and Jalen Neal's hurt. Midfield, like you said, very, very strong. Testament, Busio, McGlynn, Paxton, Aronson. Our best players are definitely in the midfield. Even the backups as well. Aiden Morris, Obed Vargas getting a goal against Mexico. Benjamin Kromaski, who was just with the senior team, whether that was for recruiting purposes or not, is still a notable achievement for him. The midfield's definitely one of our strongest point in this roster. The wingers, I think, are pretty good too. Taylor Booth, obviously, he's on a minutes restriction coming back from injury, but he's a guy who's also been in and around the senior team. I believe he was in our Nations League squad in the summer. Bernard Kumpunga, one of the best stories in soccer, the Tanzanian refugee, and it's a good thing for him that he accepted this call-up over a potential Tanzanian cap tie for the senior team, so it shows that he wants to represent us, which is nice with our limited winger depth. And Brian Gutierrez, obviously, and like you said, the strikers, not great. I need to see Josh Sargent and this team in the actual Olympics, maybe even Pepe, depending on how they're both doing at the end of the season. But Maguire, he had a good season in MLS, but he's not the most technical guy. He's mainly just a big force in the air, which does work for Greg's system, is if we're going to be playing that way. So maybe that's good, but other than that, he's not very good at all. And Johan Gomez, I don't think has a single goal contribution despite playing as a second striker in the second Bundesliga this season. So it kind of tells you all you need to know about him.
Yeah, and I think you hit every single point there. The only thing that I was looking up here, I didn't even know that Josh Sargent is eligible for. He's actually Olympic eligible?
No.
Yeah, 23. But I know what you mean. Using an overage spot for him because that position really is the only one that doesn't follow through with the level that is expected at this level of competition, not even with the rest of the team. And it's crazy looking at this roster. Made me realize a few things that are, like you said in the previous video, our left back depth all of a sudden looks like we're stacked there. And I think it's crazy because before I was thinking that we were definitely going to use a spot on the midfield with Tyler Adams, perhaps, because I think that we need, not that we need, but I thought that we don't have that 6 if Tessman doesn't perform. But I think that he can. I trust that he can at this level. And if you take into account that Johnny is probably going to be a part of this roster, assuming Adams is fit, he's likely to be a part of this roster. Brazilians put a lot of importance towards the Olympics, as we grew up in Brazil and his family is Brazilian. I'm pretty sure that it is a dream of his. All of a sudden, you think the midfield is really the shining light of this roster. So since we are touching on the topic, I would love to do the analysis on the game, but since we couldn't, we're just going to have to sort of predict how we go against Japan. And I also want to ask from now, maybe this is the first time this question is asked on YouTube. How far do you think that let's assume we go with this roster into the Olympics? I know it's early and predictions are just ifs, buts, and maybes, but how far do you think a roster like this could go in the Olympics? Assuming that the other national teams put up a strong and their best possible roster, how far do you think we could go? Could we aim for a medal?
I honestly think a medal is within reach of this squad. Obviously, it depends on whether we're saying just this team or with the overage players, probably Sargent, McKenzie, and Trusty, I think are the 3 favorites right now. But assuming we have those 3, I think this is a very strong team. We could definitely push for a medal, bronze minimum. I do think we have a chance to win it, the gold. I don't think it will happen. I think countries like Brazil will probably take it. But I think silver is definitely realistic. And it's definitely what we should be shooting for. Like I said earlier, this is a huge opportunity to grow the game in the US, and we need to take this seriously. Obviously not as seriously as Copa America because it's not as big of a competition for the sport, but we need to be serious about this, send the best team we can make. hopefully get a better striker in. Damian Downs could have been one, Maurice Malone as well. Both been impressing for their teams over in Germany and Austria, or sorry, Switzerland for Malone. But yeah, I think this team, it can be one of the best in the tournament.
Nice. Yeah, I agree. I think that, honestly, I think that we can, but I'm so optimistic. I feel like I got a little bit delusional, but I think we could definitely get to the semifinals. I don't know if we would get the actual bronze medal, but I think we should be in the final four. And that's, honestly, Olympics is more, again, to attract the casual fan into the game. It's nice for bragging rights to celebrate. It's always nice to celebrate something, but it isn't the most relevant thing. I think it can be treated sort of like the U20s, U17 World Cup. It's more for development, easing these guys into the main national team figure. And on that note, I know that there's a rule for 3 overage players. I want to ask you 3 players from this group that you think will have a shout for the next actual World Cup 26. Let's flip it. Instead of 3 players being overage going here, who are the 3 guys out of this roster that you think have the best shout of making the senior team the soonest?
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting question. I think, for my first one, I'm going to go Paxton Aronson, simply because our 10 position is just so fluid with Gio's injury history and Malik Tillman pulling out of the squad, and maybe he won't be able to wake up on time for the World Cup. Who knows? And yeah, I think Paxton's one of our most promising prospects from this group, so I think he has a good chance. Taylor Booth as well. I mean, we've seen him with the senior team in the past, and assuming he can get back to his form from last season, returning from this injury, and just keep progressing from that, I don't think it's unrealistic to say he could earn himself a move out of Utrecht to a bigger team, maybe even a bigger league, in the relatively near future, and by 2026 definitely be a part of the A team. And for the third player, it's a tough one. I think I'm going to have a tie here between Tanner Tessman, who has a chance, but there's also Leonard Maloney and Johnny Cardoso for the backup 6 that he has to fight with, who are 2 also pretty solid players, so you'd have to beat them out. And then one of the fullbacks, I think that Reynolds, Tolkien, and Wiley all have a shot, honestly, because we've seen Greg bring more fullbacks than necessary to competitions in the past. We brought like 5 or 6 of them to the friendlies against Oman and Uzbekistan for some reason. We brought more than enough to the last World Cup, so I think it's set up more to be a right back, so I'll say Reynolds, especially considering that Dest and Scally can both play left back if needed. So yeah, I'll say Reynolds for the other one.
Nice. I think I'm going to shock here with my pick. The one guy out of this group that I think will have the longest tenure with the national team is going to be Obed Vargas. I think he's really good. He's such a good player. I know he's really young. He's not going to be the one that has the sooner shout for the main team, but I'm going to have to pick Tolkien for the same reasons. A lot of Greg loves fullbacks. I'm assuming that he stays. I don't actually see him getting fired even after 26 because I think we're going to do the bare minimum. So it has to be a fullback. Tolkien. I'm going to say Obed Vargas and Paxton Aronson. Even though I love Tessman, I think that he will have a shot. I think he'll definitely be in the picture with the national team. I expect him to make the 26 roster, but it's not going to be a for sure thing. But Obed, I think that it's for sure at some point he's going to be a big figure for the main national team. And also, now let's try to predict the game against Japan. Based off of that performance that we saw equals to everyone else that wasn't in the stadium, we don't have anything. But how do you think we're going to line up? Do you think that Brady's going to actually start? That's the one thing that I was thinking. Maybe, I know it's Mexico, but I don't know if USSF wanted to try things around, if they wanted to just rest a few players. I don't know, for whatever reason, try to mix it up before we play an actual better team. I think Japan, it's fair to say, and it's no disrespect, not trying to trigger Mexicans, but I think Japan is a more solidified soccer nation nowadays at any level. And how do you expect us to line up?
Yeah, I think your point of maybe rotating players and focusing more on the Japan game is an interesting one because, listen, I love Nathan Harriel more than anyone, obviously a Union product, but realistically he's not close to Brian Reynolds, and yet he still started it right back against Mexico. So I think maybe we would not be putting out our full-strength team there. Obviously Taylor Booth as well was on a minutes restriction, so you know, he probably being our best player didn't play that much. So I think Chris Brady will start. Like you said, I think he's our best keeper, and I don't think it's fair to give him no opportunities in this camp. We have 2 games. We have 3 keepers. I don't know why John Pulskamp is there. He's just there to make up the numbers, to be honest. So I think Brady has to start this game against Japan. For the fullbacks, Tolkien started the last one, so I'm actually going to go for Caleb Wiley to start this one alongside Brian Reynolds on the right-hand side, switch it up and keep the same center backs, Dietz, and actually no, I'm going to go for Brandon Craig instead of Tompkinson. Dietz and Craig. And then in the midfield, I think it'll probably be similar actually. I think the midfield was probably full strength. Maybe we see more of attacking, but Busio, Tessman, and McGlynn is very, very strong. So I think we could see the exact same midfield there. Taylor Booth will probably be back on the right wing, assuming he doesn't have a minutes restriction. I think Duncan McGuire will still be starting up top. Maybe it'll be Gomez because McGuire didn't do too much to impress from what I've heard. Obviously, there's no real way of knowing because we couldn't watch the game, but I think it will be McGuire again. On the left, honestly, who knows? It might be Brian Gutierrez again. I think Paxton Aronson deserves to start somewhere, whether it's at a 10, maybe it's out wide, because he did, when he came on, I think he came on for Gutierrez, so maybe he'll be starting on the left. And as for the score prediction, I'm confident in this team, honestly. I think regardless of the lineup, it seems like we're rotating players a lot. I think every single player on the roster, besides the backup goalkeepers, got minutes in the game against Mexico, and I expect it to be the same thing. Obviously, our 2 goal scorers against Mexico both were on the bench to start the game, so it doesn't matter who starts. It's about what you do with your minutes, and because of that, I think we're going to win again. We won 2-1 against Mexico. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm going to go 2-1 again against Japan.
Nice. Touching on Paxton, I think that he definitely needs to play. And I'm going to say, if this is Mikey Varas being the coach, I'll be very confident. And I think that what I'm about to say would be more realistic. Play him at the false 9, sort of what he did with Diego Luna. I think I like Paxton there. He played really well. And the tournament, I forgot the name of the tournament that qualified us to the Olympics, actually. The Revelations Cup, I think it is.
No, the CONCACAF Championship U23.
Yes, exactly. And I remember watching that because I had the stream, but he's really good there. I think he's really good for this level. I think that now he is in a position where he's not just a youngster, he is a more experienced player than a lot of these guys. He has had a bit of more spotlight than them. And I think that he will be crucial in the Olympics, assuming he plays and he's released. And I think that it would be important to start getting minutes with the guys that are actually going to play, because I think that Busio, Tessman, these guys are probably going to get to the Olympics. They're about that level. I don't think the clubs would have a problem releasing them. And especially with Copa America, a lot of the main guys are not going to be able to play. So I think that I would start Paxton there. I also don't think that I'm a fan of putting Craig in there, because even though he hasn't gotten minutes, he has shown when he's played with the national team that he can perform. I think he's a really, really good center back, really underrated by the fan base. And I would start Tolkien on the left, Reynolds on the right. I think thinking about it, it is a really strong squad. I'm going here for a 3-0. Crazy. I think it can do that. Yes, I think the physicality of this team especially is going to be what is going to get us over the line against Japan. I think Japan's are always really good with the work ethic, but I think we have a lot of physicality there, and our midfield is really good. I can't really imagine out of the Japan roster, apart from Hatate, anyone that would no, not Hatate, but Otsui. Apart from him, I don't think anybody can actually handle our midfield with the way that we're set up, especially if we go with Buzio, Tanner, and McGlynn, and if Paxton is involved in any way, shape, or form in the midfield. I think that we should win that game pretty comfortably, honestly. I know it can sound crazy, but this is not the main Japan squad. I think we should get over the line 2-0, 3-0, one of the two. But anything else? Any other takes on this roster? There's also the Pan American Games roster. I saw that came out. What's your take on it, Brayden? I'm not going to pretend that I know most of those guys there, and I've watched them extensively. So I'll just say I'm a casual on this one.
Yeah, so for the Pan American Games roster, I think I'm a little disappointed. It's a lot weaker than I would have expected. I know obviously it's our 3rd team that's going out at the same time, so it's kind of understandable. But I mean, a couple of the players are promising. I would say a majority is honestly just MLS Next Pro standouts, which isn't great necessarily, to be honest. I mean, a couple of guys in there are all right. I think the main ones that I'm looking forward to watching are obviously Rodrigo Neri, the Venezuelan dual national from Atletico Madrid's academy, leading the line hopefully at the 9. Honestly, I think he has a shout to make the Olympics, to be honest, if he has a good showing in these games. So I'm really excited to see what he can do. Vaughn Koval as well from Hull City. I really like him. He had a very unfortunate ACL injury last year that prevented him from playing most of the season, and he hasn't been playing too much either this season, but I think he can really kickstart his year here with, I think he's definitely going to be one of the standouts of the roster. I think the forwards in general are probably the best. The defense, there's some recognizable guys. Mauricio Cuevas was with the U20 team for a little bit, but honestly, his team's pretty weak. Ted DiPietro, I want to give him a special shout out because he's burst onto the scene for DC United this year. Kind of like Duncan McGuire in the way that no one was really expecting him to do anything. The winger, I think he's going to have a really good shot in this tournament as well.
Yeah, I'll be honest, apart from him, I don't see anybody else that can actually have a shot of one day getting near a senior call-up. But it's nice that these guys are, I don't want to be sound, like I'm putting these guys down, but it's nice that they get an opportunity to get a showing wearing the colors, representing our country regardless of the level that they're doing, and it's nice, and I hope that they do well. I'm just going to say that Pietro, at the same time that I hope that he does well, he does have the worst name ever if you speak Portuguese. It's ridiculous, but he just needs to use his first name or something. But anyways, anything else that you want to add on about these guys? They are all sort of fringe players, upcoming players. I think overall it's really exciting. Anything you want to add, Brandon?
Yeah, one thing I forgot. Shout out to Antonio Carrera and Nico Carrera, the brothers. I think this might be the first time in a really long time that two brothers have actually been in the same U.S. team. Obviously, we've seen the likes of Brendan and Paxton Aronson both get call-ups to the main national team, but not at the same time ever. So yeah, it's exciting for both of them. A nice moment for their family. Maybe the Gomez brothers could have had the same thing if Mirandes had actually let Jonathan go to the Olympic team. But yeah, it's a nice moment for their family. I don't think either of them are that great. Carrera's kind of just a potential third string option for the Olympics. He'll probably be starting here. Nico, he's out in Germany with Holstein Kiel in the second division, but he's not playing at all. I think he's just with their youth teams. So nothing too special, but it's a nice moment for them.
Yeah, it is nice. And honestly, I think that Paxton and Brandon, they should be getting a call-up together pretty soon. But yeah, I mean, really nice, and I'm excited for both of these games. I'm happy that we're going to get to watch. I was really bummed that we couldn't watch, and nobody in the stadium streamed. Why didn't anybody stream? But anyways, enough of that. Thank you very much, Brayden. Thank you guys for watching this video. I know it's a little bit late, but hey, we're still on schedule. The USSF pulled through here, not streaming the game, so it's not even like we're late. Nobody missed anything. So thank you very much for watching the video. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe, share with your friends, and leave in the comments suggestions for videos as well. We'll try to make them. I'll try to be on time next time. We'll see you next one.